Mom busted me and took over my makeover. I never thought my secret would come crashing down like this. It all started with a simple curiosity, a fascination I couldn't explain, a feeling I couldn't shake. By day, I was Ryan Dawson, an ordinary college student with a girlfriend who thought she knew everything about me. But by night, in the privacy of my room, I became someone else. The silk of a dress brushing against my skin, the soft touch of lipstick gliding across my lips. It was exhilarating. Yet, it was also terrifying. This was a part of me no one could ever know about. At least, that's what I believed. But secrets have a way of unraveling at the worst possible moments. I'm Ryan Dawson, 21 years old, an engineering major, and someone who's always played by the rules. I've never been the type to stand out. Average grades, average looks, and average life. But there's one thing about me that no one would ever expect. I have a secret life. I can still remember the first time I felt it. The pull. The unexplainable urge. It happened when I was 14. My older sister, Sophie, had left some of her clothes in the laundry, and out of sheer curiosity, I picked up a skirt. Just for a second. Just to see how it would feel. That single moment changed everything. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't just about the fabric, or the way it looked. It was something deeper. A part of me that had been hidden, something that felt right in a way nothing else ever had. But boys weren't supposed to feel that way. Society had already decided for me. So I buried it. I told myself it was a phase. Years passed, but the feeling never went away. Every time I was alone, the temptation grew stronger. It wasn't just about trying on clothes anymore, it became an escape. A way to step outside of myself, outside of expectations, outside of the life I was supposed to live. A secret, a dangerous one, and I had gotten good at keeping it. Or so I thought. If anyone knew me best, it was Emma. Emma and I had been dating for over a year, and from the outside, we were the perfect couple. She was everything I could ever want. Smart, beautiful, ambitious. We had met in college, and from the very beginning, she was drawn to my quiet, reserved nature. She liked that I was different from other guys. She just didn't know how different. Emma had a strong personality. She was confident, bold, and fiercely independent. She always spoke her mind, and that was one of the things I loved about her. But that was also what scared me. Because Emma hated secrets. She believed in honesty and trust. She always told me that a relationship built on lies could never last. And yet, I was lying to her every single day. I hated it. There were times when I wanted to tell her, to open up, to let her see the real me. But the fear always won. What if she saw me as a freak? What if she left? I couldn't risk it. So I kept pretending. Pretending to be the perfect boyfriend. Pretending to be someone I wasn't. And every time she complimented me for being different from typical guys, I felt a sharp pang of guilt. Because if she ever found out just how different I really was, I wasn't sure she'd still love me. It wasn't often that I got time to myself. Between school, work, and my relationship, there were very few moments where I could truly be alone. That's why I had to be careful, calculated. Every time I indulged in my secret, I had to make sure no one was around. Today was one of those rare opportunities. Mom had gone out shopping. Emma was busy with her study group. That gave me at least 2 hours, 2 glorious, uninterrupted hours to be myself. As soon as I heard the door close behind Mom, I sprang into action. My hands trembled with excitement as I rushed to my closet. Hidden behind piles of old clothes, tucked away in a secret compartment, was my collection. Dresses, stockings, makeup, wigs, everything I had secretly collected over the years. I carefully pulled out my favorite outfit, a soft lavender dress, delicate and flowing, with a lace trim that made me feel elegant and beautiful. I slipped into it, shivering as the fabric brushed against my skin. Then came the pantyhose, sheer, silky, stretching perfectly over my legs. Finally, the high heels, beige, simple but perfect. I took a deep breath and turned to the mirror. The person staring back at me was unrecognizable. A girl. Not Ryan. Someone else. Someone softer, more delicate. Someone free. I moved with practiced ease, reaching for my makeup kit. A light foundation to smooth my skin. A touch of blush to bring warmth to my cheeks. Soft pink lipstick gliding over my lips. Every motion was precise, controlled. I had done this enough times to know exactly how to make it perfect. And as I looked at my reflection, my heart pounded. I wasn't just dressing up. I was transforming. For a few fleeting moments, I could step out of my life, step away from my fears, and simply exist. But the fear never left me, because no matter how perfect the transformation, one thing was always certain. I could never, ever get caught, and that was why I was always careful. I always checked the time. I always made sure I had enough of a window to change back. I never let myself get too comfortable. But today I made a mistake. Lost in the moment, I didn't hear the car pulling into the driveway. I didn't hear the front door unlocking. I didn't hear the footsteps creeping toward my room. Not until it was too late. My entire body stiffened at the sound of the door creaking open behind me. The air shifted. The world froze. And then, Ryan! My blood ran cold. I spun around, heart slamming against my ribs. There, standing in the doorway, eyes wide with shock, was Mom. She wasn't supposed to be home. She wasn't supposed to see this. And yet, there she was, watching me, taking in every detail. The dress, the makeup, the heels, everything. For the first time in my life, I was completely, utterly exposed. My biggest fear had just come true, and I had no way out. For a moment, neither of us moved. The air in the room had thickened, suffocating me as my heartbeat pounded in my ears. My mother stood frozen in the doorway, her lips slightly parted, eyes darting between my face and the lavender dress clinging to my frame. I wanted to run. I wanted to disappear. But I couldn't move. The silence stretched on, unbearable. Then, finally, she spoke. Ryan! Her voice was soft, hesitant, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. My throat tightened. I felt the sharp sting of humiliation creeping up my neck. I should say something. I should explain. But what was there to say? Every excuse that flashed through my mind sounded ridiculous. I couldn't say it was a prank. Not when I was wearing full makeup, not when I had clearly put effort into my appearance. I swallowed hard, my entire body trembling. Mom! She took a step inside, closing the door behind her. Panic surged through me. Was she embarrassed? Angry? Disgusted? She didn't look any of those things. But her expression was unreadable, and that was somehow even worse. Her gaze swept over me again. Slowly, deliberately. She took in everything, the makeup, the stockings, the heels. Her eyes lingered on my lips, on the way my fingers twisted anxiously around the hem of my dress. Then, to my absolute horror, she smiled. It wasn't a mocking smile. It wasn't cruel or condescending. It was something else. Something curious. I blinked, my breath catching in my throat. How long have you been doing this? She asked, her tone calm, almost intrigued. I couldn't answer. I couldn't breathe. How could she be so calm? Shouldn't she be yelling? Shouldn't she be asking me why I was dressed like this? But she wasn't. Instead, she stepped forward, tilting her head as she examined me like some kind of puzzle she was trying to solve. That's a nice shade of lipstick, she mused, completely ignoring my wide-eyed panic. Subtle, but it suits your face. My knees nearly buckled. Did she just compliment me? I had been bracing for anger, for disappointment. Not this. I stared at her, struggling to form words. She smiled again, softer this time. You look beautiful, Ryan. I nearly collapsed. Beautiful. She wasn't mad. She wasn't disgusted. She was accepting this. But how? Why? My breath shuddered out of me. You're not mad? Why would I be? Because my voice broke. Because this isn't normal. Her expression shifted, a flicker of something unreadable crossing her face. Ryan, she said gently, who told you that? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Who did tell me that? Society? Movies? My own fear? She shook her head. Honey, do you think I'd love you any less because of this? I sucked in a sharp breath. But it's weird, right? It's wrong. Wrong. She raised an eyebrow. You think wearing a dress is wrong? I swallowed hard. I don't know. She sighed, sitting on the edge of my bed. Ryan, I've known you your entire life. And if this is something that makes you happy, I don't see what's wrong with it. Happy. The word hit me like a brick. Was I happy? Yes. At least, I had been, until I got caught. She studied me for a long moment. Then, before I could stop her, she reached out and gently touched my cheek. "You did a good job with your makeup," she said, her voice light. "But I think you could blend the foundation a little better near your jawline." I nearly died. She was critiquing my makeup, not yelling at me, not telling me to wipe it off, just helping. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or horrified. My mind was spinning. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. And then she said the words that changed everything. "Do you want me to help you?" My stomach dropped. My mom wanted to help me? I gawked at her, completely at a loss for words. "What?" She smiled, crossing her arms. "You clearly put effort into this, but I think you could use some pointers. If you're going to do this, you might as well do it right." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was a joke, right? Some kind of test? But there was no judgment in her eyes. No hesitation. Just curiosity. And something else. Something I couldn't quite place. I should have said no. I should have shut this down. But instead, I nodded. And that was my second mistake. Because I had no idea what I had just agreed to. And I had no idea how far she was about to take this. Before I could even process what was happening, my mother clapped her hands together. "All right then. Let's start with the foundation." I was still in shock, my body stuck between panic and sheer disbelief as she stood up and walked toward my vanity. She started rummaging through my things like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like this wasn't insane. "Mom, wait," I said, my voice shaky. "I don't think." "Shoo." She hushed me, pulling out my makeup brushes. "Sit down. Let me see your face." I sat. I listened. Why? Why wasn't I stopping this? I should have been horrified, embarrassed. And I was. But at the same time, there was a strange, electric thrill running through me. For the first time, I wasn't doing this alone. For the first time, someone was helping me. She picked up my foundation bottle, inspecting the shade. A little dark for your skin tone. We'll have to fix that later." I gulped. She was talking like this was going to be a regular thing. Like this was just another mother-son bonding moment. But it wasn't. It couldn't be. And yet, I didn't stop her as she dabbed the sponge against my face, blending the foundation with practiced ease. I didn't stop her as she grabbed my eyeshadow palette, examining the colors. I didn't stop her as she picked up a soft pink shade. "This will make your eyes pop," she murmured. And then she started applying it herself. I sat there, frozen, as my own mother did my makeup. And somehow, it felt right. By the time she was finished, I didn't recognize myself. She stepped back, tilting her head. "There. What do you think?" I turned to the mirror, and my breath caught in my throat. I looked beautiful. More than that, I looked real. Like this wasn't just dress up. Like I belonged this way. I swallowed hard, a lump forming in my throat. I should be happy. This was what I always wanted, right? So why did I feel like my world was crumbling? Because this wasn't just a secret anymore. My mom knew. And worse, she wasn't letting this go. She was taking over. And I had no idea where this was leading. I couldn't stop staring at my reflection. My mother had done something I never could. She had perfected me. The soft pink eyeshadow made my brown eyes look bigger, more delicate. My lashes, curled and coated with mascara, framed them like something out of a magazine. My lips were now a glossy, innocent pink, the shade just subtle enough to look natural but feminine all the same. And my face flawless. Not a trace of stubble. Not a single blemish. Just smooth porcelain skin. I looked like a real girl. More than that, I looked convincing. And that terrified me. Because for the first time, I saw her, the girl I had always imagined myself becoming, the girl I had tried and failed to bring to life on my own. My mother had done in minutes what I had struggled to accomplish for months. And the worst part, she wasn't done. "That's much better," she said, stepping back with a satisfied nod. I swallowed hard, my hands gripping the edge of my vanity. "Mom, this is too much." She smiled, undeterred. "Nonsense. We're just getting started." Started? A fresh wave of panic rose in my chest. She was taking this too far. Way too far. And yet, I didn't stop her. Even as she walked to my closet, humming thoughtfully. even as she flipped through my clothes like she had done this 1,000 times before. I just sat there, watching in stunned silence. "Your style is a little safe," she commented, pushing past my skirts and blouses. "Nothing wrong with that, but I think we can do better." I blinked. "Better?" She glanced over her shoulder, raising an eyebrow. "Ryan, if you're going to do this, you might as well do it right. And trust me, if there's one thing I know, it's fashion." I opened my mouth to protest, because what did that even mean? But then she pulled out something that made my blood run cold. A dress. Not just any dress. A tight, elegant, black cocktail dress. Something I had never dared to wear before. Something that screamed woman. Not pretend. Not experimenting. Full. Blown. Woman. I felt lightheaded. "Mom, I can't." "Of course you can," she said, cutting me off effortlessly. "You have the body for it. The body for it." I nearly fell out of my chair. Was she serious? Was this some kind of sick joke? I wasn't some model. I wasn't even really a girl. I was a guy in a dress. But before I could gather my thoughts, she was already pulling the lavender one off me. "Arms up," she ordered. I froze. She wanted me to change in front of her? I clutched the fabric, my face burning. "Mom, She sighed, giving me an exasperated look. "Ryan, do you think I care? I used to change your diapers." I nearly choked. "Mom." She laughed. "Oh, relax. You're acting like I've never seen you in your underwear before." I squeezed my eyes shut. "This is different." "Is it?" She smirked. "Because from where I'm standing, you look an awful lot like a daughter right now." My heart stopped. I stared at her, and that's when I saw it. The glint in her eyes. The realization. She wasn't just humoring me. She wasn't just playing along. She was enjoying this. And worse, she wanted this. She wanted me to be her daughter. "Come on," she said, shaking the dress in front of me. "Let's see how this one looks." I swallowed hard. I should say no. I should put an end to this right now. But I didn't. Because deep down, I knew something terrible. A part of me wanted this too. So I raised my arms. And I let her change me. The fabric slid over my skin like silk, hugging every curve my mother had subtly shaped with padding and clever tricks. I shouldn't have fit into it. It should have looked awkward, unnatural. But it didn't. It fit perfectly. Like it had been made for me. Like I had been made for it. My mother stepped back, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Now, this is a look," she murmured. I turned to the mirror and almost collapsed. I didn't look like Ryan anymore. I didn't even look like some guy in drag. I looked like a woman. A classy, confident, undeniably feminine woman. My breath shuddered out of me. "Mom, this is too much. Too much." She chuckled, shaking her head. "Honey, this is just the beginning." I gulped. She was serious. This wasn't just a fun little experiment for her. She was turning me into someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. And the worst part, I liked it. I liked the way she fussed over me. I liked the way she guided me. I liked the way she saw me. Not as Ryan. Not as a mistake. But as her daughter. And that realization hit me like a truck. Because if my own mother saw me this way, then what did that mean about me? Who was I, really? And what was she planning to do with me now? I thought the worst was over. I thought she had gotten it out of her system. I was wrong. Because then she said something that made my blood freeze. "You know what we should do." She clapped her hands together. "We should go out." I nearly died. "Out!" I screeched, whirling around in horror. She nodded, completely casual. "Of course. What's the point of getting all dressed up if no one sees you?" I started hyperventilating. "Mom, I can't." "Why not?" She tilted her head. "You pass perfectly. No one would ever know. That wasn't the point. The point was that I was a guy. The point was that this was supposed to stay a secret. She couldn't be serious. She couldn't be. But the glint in her eyes told me otherwise. She was pushing this. Pushing me. And suddenly I understood. She wasn't just playing along anymore. She was taking control. I had lost control. And now I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't take back. "Mom, please," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Don't make me do this." She smiled. Not cruelly. Not maliciously. But in that way only mothers do when they know best. "Ryan," she said softly, brushing a stray hair from my face. You already did. And just like that, it was too late. I sat in the passenger seat, my legs crossed delicately at the ankles, hands trembling in my lap. The soft swish of the dress against my thighs sent another jolt of nervous energy up my spine. The streetlights flickered past as Mom drove, humming softly, as if nothing about this situation was strange or unnatural. But to me, this was a nightmare. I had spent years making sure no one ever found out about this side of me. And now, not only had my mother discovered everything, but she had taken over. She had picked my outfit, styled my hair, applied my makeup, and now she was taking me out. Like this. As a girl. The thought made my stomach twist into knots. This will be good for you, she said, glancing at me with a small smile. You'll see. Good for me? I was one wrong move away from total disaster. I adjusted my grip on my purse, my fingers tightening around the fabric. My nails, painted a soft, feminine pink, felt like evidence of my crime. The lipstick, the mascara, the entire look, it was too much. And yet, there was something else too. A thrill. A rush. I didn't want to admit it, but somewhere beneath the fear, the sheer terror of being caught, there was something else. A strange, intoxicating excitement. I was out. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just playing dress-up in my room, terrified of being discovered. I was outside. In public. Dressed like this. And no one knew. We pulled into a parking lot, and my chest tightened as I saw where we were. A small cafe, warm lights glowing from inside, filled with people. Oh no, I breathed. No. Mom, I can't do this. Yes, you can, she said, unbuckling her seatbelt. And you will. My heart slammed against my ribs. No. This was too much. I couldn't. Ryan. She stopped herself, then smirked. Or should I say, Riley. I stiffened. Riley. The name I used in private, the name I gave to the side of me. I had never spoken it out loud. She had seen it, scrawled in one of my old journals, tucked away in my hidden stash of makeup and wigs. And now she was using it. My body betrayed me. A shiver ran down my spine at the sound of it, and I felt the warmth spread through me, a strange, terrifying, exhilarating warmth. She saw it. Her smirk softened. Come on, Riley, she said. Let's go. I sat there, frozen. If I stepped out of the car, I was crossing a line. If I stepped out of the car, I wasn't just a boy playing dress-up anymore. I was becoming someone else. A new person. A girl. And then, before I could stop myself, my hand reached for the door handle. Click! The sound echoed in my ears like a gunshot. I stepped out. The cool night air kissed my skin, sending goosebumps down my arms. My heels clicked against the pavement. The dress swayed around my legs. And then, people were looking at me. A couple walking past barely gave me a second glance. A man standing by the cafe door smiled politely. Two girls chatting at a table laughed, but not at me. No one knew. No one suspected. I wasn't being stared at like a freak. I wasn't being exposed. To them, I was just another girl out for the night. And the realization hit me like a truck. I could get away with this. I could pass. My breath caught in my throat as I followed my mother inside. The warmth of the cafe wrapped around me, the smell of coffee and baked goods filling the air. Conversations hummed around us, but my ears were ringing. Every single step felt dangerous. Every move I made felt like I was walking a tightrope. One slip, one wrong move, one wrong word, and it would be over. But no one batted an eye. We took a seat near the window, and I placed my purse on the table, my hands shaking. Mom looked at me, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. You're doing amazing, she said softly. I swallowed hard. Was I? Or was I 1 second away from total humiliation? The waitress came over, and my heart jumped into my throat. This was the real test. Would she see through me? Would she notice? She smiled. Good evening, ladies. What can I get for you? My stomach flipped. She thought I was a girl. I had to answer. My voice would ruin everything. I forced a smile. Jay, just a coffee, please. The words came out softer than usual, more careful, more feminine. I barely recognized myself. Mom ordered too, and the waitress walked away without so much as a second glance. I let out a shaky breath. I had done it. I had passed. I wasn't just dressing like a girl. I was being one. And the terrifying, exhilarating, impossible truth was, I liked it. But before I could process that thought, the door chimed. My blood froze. I turned my head slowly, dread curling in my stomach. Standing in the doorway, I scanning the cafe, was Emma, my girlfriend, and she was looking right at me. My breath hitched in my throat. Emma, standing in the doorway, looking right at me. My heart slammed against my ribs as I shrank into my seat, my fingers gripping the edge of the table. Maybe, just maybe, she hadn't recognized me yet. Maybe she was just scanning the cafe, looking for an empty table. But then, her eyes locked onto mine, and something shifted in her expression. Recognition, confusion, shock. I panicked. I turned away too quickly, nearly knocking over my coffee. My hands trembled as I tried to steady it, my painted nails catching the warm light of the cafe. Every inch of me was on fire. Oh my God! Emma's voice cut through the air like a knife. It was over. I squeezed my eyes shut, wishing, begging, that this was a nightmare, that I would wake up safe in my room, back in my oversized hoodie and sweatpants, my secret still intact. But this wasn't a nightmare. This was real. Mom leaned forward, her voice calm. Stay still. Breathe. Breathe. I couldn't even think. The sound of Emma's heels, clicking against the wooden floor, felt like a death sentence. Each step was a countdown, dragging me closer and closer to my fate. And then, she was standing right next to me. I forced myself to look up. Emma's eyes were wide, scanning every inch of me. From my perfectly curled hair to my softly contoured face, down to my delicate pink dress, and the purse sitting neatly on my lap. Her mouth opened, then closed. I could see the exact moment her brain caught up. Ryan. My stomach plummeted. I tried to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. The entire cafe felt too bright, too loud. My own heartbeat was deafening. I waited for the disgust, the betrayal, the explosion of emotions that would shatter the fragile world I had built. But instead, she laughed. Laughed. A small, breathy chuckle, like she had just seen something so ridiculous that she couldn't believe it. Oh my God, she whispered again. Then, she sat down. Just like that. She pulled out the chair across from me, crossed her arms, and leaned forward, her eyes still scanning me like she was trying to make sense of what she was seeing. I was paralyzed. Mom, on the other hand, was perfectly calm. Well, you found us, she said, stirring her tea. Would you like to join us for a coffee? Emma barely glanced at her. She was still looking at me, only me. My voice failed. I cleared my throat, trying to force out words in a way that didn't sound completely unnatural. I can explain. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'd love to hear this. Mom set down her spoon. Actually, Riley, why don't I give you two a moment? Riley. Emma flinched. Mom stood up gracefully, flashing me a reassuring look before walking off to order something from the counter, leaving me alone with her. Silence stretched between us. My hands clenched together in my lap. My legs, *** shaved, smooth, exposed beneath the dress. *** felt like they didn't belong to me. I swallowed hard. Emma, She held up a hand. No. Just give me a second. She studied me again. This time, really studied me. And then she did something I never expected. She reached forward and grabbed my wrist. My breath caught. She turned it over, staring at my perfectly manicured nails. Then she let go and touched a curl of my hair, rolling it between her fingers. Finally, her gaze locked onto mine. And she whispered, "How long?" I hesitated. "How long what?" She inhaled sharply. "How long have you been doing this?" I knew exactly what she meant. My face burned. The words felt too big, too dangerous to say out loud. But at this point, what was the point of lying? My voice was small. "A while." Emma blinked. Then, she laughed again. Not a cruel laugh. Not mocking. Just genuine disbelief. She shook her head. "You're seriously telling me that my boyfriend, my Ryan, has been running around behind my back, dressing up like like this, and I just never noticed. Her tone was sharp, but her eyes, they weren't cruel. They were searching. I felt like I was on trial. I looked away. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to hate me. Silence. Then, a sharp exhale. Hate you, Emma repeated. Ryan. She shook her head, running a hand through her hair. I don't even know what to think right now. My chest tightened. There it was, the beginning of the end. I had ruined everything. She sighed, leaning back. I mean, I have so many questions. Like why? And how? And why? I winced. That's the same question twice. Emma gave me a look. Yeah, because it's a big one. I bit my lip. I don't really have a perfect answer. I looked down at myself, the delicate fabric of my dress, the small, dainty movements I had unconsciously picked up over the course of the night. It just feels right. Emma watched me carefully, and then, after a long pause, she exhaled. Then, she smirked. Oh my God! She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. I have a hotter girlfriend than I do a boyfriend. My brain short-circuited. What? She just shook her head, still smirking. I mean, you actually look good. She gestured vaguely at my entire outfit. Like, ridiculously good. It's kind of annoying. I was too stunned to speak. Was she joking? Mom suddenly reappeared, sliding back into her seat, her expression calm as ever. So, Emma, she said casually, stirring her tea. What do you think of Riley? Emma opened her mouth, then shut it. For a second, she just stared at me. Then, finally, she let out a breathless laugh. I think I need another drink. Emma stared at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine for something, understanding, clarity, maybe even certainty. But the truth was, I didn't have all the answers. Not yet. And maybe that was okay. I took a slow, shaky breath. I don't know what happens next, I admitted. But I know this isn't just some phase. This isn't just about clothes or makeup. It's about me. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I can finally breathe. Emma tapped her fingers against the table, considering my words. Then, after what felt like an eternity, she let out a slow exhale and nodded. Okay. I blinked. Okay. She gave me a small, teasing smile. Yeah. Okay. Like it was the simplest thing in the world. Like I was the simplest thing in the world. And just like that, the weight pressing on my chest lifted. I wasn't losing her. Maybe things wouldn't be the same. Maybe our relationship would shift, evolve, even change into something neither of us expected. But Emma wasn't running. She wasn't looking at me with disgust or regret. She was still here. And that meant everything. Mom returned a few moments later, her expression unreadable as she set her purse down on the table. Well, she said, smoothing out the wrinkles on her blouse. I think this calls for a little celebration. Emma raised an eyebrow. A celebration? Mom smirked. Of course. My child just embraced a part of themselves they've been hiding for years. That's a pretty big deal, don't you think? My heart ached at her words. Because she wasn't wrong. This was huge. I had spent so long suffocating under fear and shame. Hiding. Running. Pretending to be someone I wasn't. But now, for the first time, I was seen. Really, truly seen. Tears pricked at my eyes. I wiped them away quickly, but Mom just chuckled and squeezed my hand. It's okay, sweetheart, she murmured. You don't have to hide anymore. The words shattered something inside me. I didn't realize how badly I had needed to hear them. Emma nudged me playfully. So, does this mean I get to help you with your next makeover? I let out a laugh, a real, genuine laugh. Only if you promise not to turn me into a glittery mess. Emma gasped dramatically. Excuse me? Glitter is essential. Mom rolled her eyes. I have a feeling I'll be the one making the real fashion choices. I groaned. Oh, great, 2 fashion dictators. They both smirked. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Because whatever happened, I wasn't alone anymore. I was finally free.